Hey everyone, it's Lisa Selthofer from Spot on Agility. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'm going to talk to you about some real world observations. So, we're going to talk about 4 basic competition rules to follow in agility. So, I'm fresh off the road from judging an assignment at one of my favorite clubs in the Southeast. And before I start, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for having me out. And thank you to the wonderful competitors. It was a fantastic show. And this club always does such an amazing job. And they really go above and beyond, especially for the Easter weekend. And all the fine details that they provide really does show. So, what an amazing job. Amazing job. It was a fantastic judging assignment. As always, anytime I go and judge, there are some really big teachable learning moments. And I really want to share, especially with my beginner novice folks, 4 things that I think are not always obvious or taught and really does talk about the differences between dog agility class and the dog agility competition ring. All right. So, first of all, let's talk about training in the ring. And it was great that this topic came up actually on an online forum for new folks. So, I'm going to address that topic of training in the ring. Training in the ring can mean all kinds of things. It could be everything from don't bring a pork chop into the ring all the way through to redoing obstacles that have already been completed in a sequence. So let me go into greater detail on that. Let's say that your dog is about to do the weed poles and they miss the entry or they pop out toward the end. Training in the ring is one of those things, and it's very prevalent in AKC. They tend to address it more than other agility organizations, where they want you to focus on just that obstacle and to complete that singular obstacle. So where training in the ring comes into play is if you intentionally send your dog back even one obstacle, but especially 2 or 3 obstacles, so that you can intentionally reattempt that entire sequence into the weed poles, they do consider that training in the ring. One of the other things that I see people doing quite often that is considered training in the ring is, let's say that a dog misses a contact, A-frame, dog walk, teeter, and an individual will intentionally bring their dog back to the place on the contact or just after the contact to show the dog that they have done, that they have made an error. That's actually considered punitive in AKC, and that can be called for training in the ring. Now, I talk about all of those things, and sometimes dogs do things on accident, sometimes handlers do things on accident. Accidental isn't always called training in the ring. So there's this really fine line. And, as a judge, that's one of the things you really have to kind of look at. As a competitor, I would say the best advice is keep your dog focused on the obstacle that you're currently doing. Try to prevent them from going back and doing other things, and don't intentionally send them back. So that's kind of an overview of training in the ring. There's much more, and I promise I'm going to do a much more in-depth video on that, but at least this kind of gives you a highlight and a couple of things to really think about. The reason I wanted to point that out as well is in your training, in training class, of course you might bring that dog all the way back or, to an obstacle to correct a contact, or you might reattempt that entire sequence for a weave pole. Sometimes it's a habit. So that's why I just bring up the training in the ring part. Remember, it's different in competition than in training quite often. All right, one of the big things when you go into a ring, it is actually the timer that starts you, not the judge. Okay, I've covered this before, but as soon as you go in, you put your dog in the sit stay, listen for the timer. Quite often they've got the electronic timers. You'll hear either go or ready. I would most definitely, before you go into the ring, get yourself acclimated as to what the signal is. So listen before you go in the ring. Are they using an electronic go box? Are they are they using an electronic ready voice? Or is it someone saying go? Okay. So don't look to the judge to start you. Look to the timer, or better yet, listen. Okay, next one. Dogs entering and exiting the ring. This is going to be different for different agility organizations. I tend to like this rule, and I use it in all organizations, and it really is mainly an AKC rule, but I think it's a good one. Your dog should enter the ring on leash, and when you're done with your run, they should exit exit the ring on leash as well. I like this rule because I think it's a great safety issue. I want to be able to have control of my dog, especially if there's some other dog that perhaps comes flying up. I want to be able to get in between me and my dog, and that may give me some more control on that. The other part is I do make the leash going over the head at the start line and then going back on around, to the neck at the finish line. I consider that to be part of the obstacles. So my dogs know to sit stay when that leash comes off, and they sit. I put the leash on. After I put the leash, then I can play with my dog, tug with my dog as I'm leaving the ring, whatever is acceptable for that agility organization. So I do try to incorporate the on and off leash part into my actual training and ring repertoire. So I do like that rule. I think it's a great one, especially for safety. So keep that one in mind. Consider using that for all of your agility organizations. All right, and this is a big one. Dogs in agility, when you enter a competition, the judge is there to judge you and your dog working together. The working together part means that your dog is paying attention. It means that they're going from obstacle to obstacle with you. And that's going to be an important part. I've talked before about, dogs that get the zoomies, and also dogs that leave their handlers either to go sniff, dogs that leave their handlers to, go see a dog at the side of the ring, dogs that leave their handlers to go see, a ring crew or a judge. All of those situations can potentially set you up so that your dog is no longer working, and you've paid some money to do an agility course. So really work on having your dog stay with you and working. And this really does begin in the training environment. And then from the training environment, you've got to get your dog used to that competition environment, because it's an incredible stimulus for them. So make sure, no matter what, that your dog is staying with you. That includes the zoomies, that includes that, dogs that go off to do their own obstacles. There's lots of scenarios that work with that. But any dog that does stop working with their handler for an extended period of time is likely going to be whistled off by a judge in any agility organization. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, guys, I love your questions. Keep them coming to me, and you may reach me at lisa@spotonagility.com. And as always, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week and happy handling. Thanks, everybody. Bye.